Okay, so hello everybody. Thank you all for being here. I see some familiar names and faces, and I'm very excited to show you all our new platform, iRIS. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen to my PowerPoint presentation. Okay, can everybody see this okay? Okay, so hello everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Natalie Hardy. I'm one of 3 iRIS analysts here at Research Support Services. We are all so excited for our upcoming move from InfoEd to iRIS, which is a cloud-based system that enables online application submission and real-time submission tracking. It also functions as a document repository, providing our users with easy access to submission records and their study documents. Our new platform has so many amazing new features and is known to the research community for being intuitive and very user-friendly. However, we know that platform changes can be overwhelming and daunting, so I'm here today to make sure everyone is prepared to move over to iRIS as seamlessly as possible. My main goals for today are to get you all familiarized with the platform and instill some confidence when submitting your first submission. I'll be pointing out some new and improved features of the new system. And at the end, I'll be reiterating the important upcoming dates relating to InfoEd access, our conversion period, and our iRIS Go Live date. On the agenda, first we'll do an iRIS introduction. I'll give a general overview of the new platform and point out those features I've been talking about. Next, we'll go through a human subject research application. We'll walk through that entire process from start to finish. Then we will respond to stipulations from the IRB, and we will submit an amendment against one of our studies. And because this is a larger group, I ask that you hold your questions until the end, but please feel free to put them in the chat. We have our team of analysts on the call right now and the other members of my team as well who can answer those questions you may have. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the platform. Okay, so this is the login page to iRIS. When you log in for the first time, you will use your SDSU single sign-on credentials. So that's just your email address at sdsu.edu and your password. I want to point out that if you are prompted to change your SDSU single sign-on password, as we all are every year, I think, or every 6 months or something, it will change in iRIS as well. So if you're having trouble logging in because you recently changed your password, try your new password. Everybody who had an InfoEd account has an iRIS account. We also pull from the LDAP directory, so all sdsu.edu emails should be in the iRIS system. So before you or one of your team members requests a new account, have them log in or have them attempt to log in with their sdsu.edu email before requesting a new account. So for the purposes of today's webinar, I'm going to be logging into our test environment. So this is what it looks like. You can see the blue test at the top of the screen. So when I log in for the very first time, and when you all log in for the first time, you will see the Study Assistant tutorial list pop up. This is just a handy list of 5 different tutorials, and we're going to go through each one of these in full throughout this webinar. But when you log in for the first time and you forget how to either start a new application, or you can't remember where to find the latest approved versions of your documents, like your consent forms or your flyers, you can click on these tutorials and they will direct you right to those areas. So this is a great resource for you. When you start getting the hang of being in iRIS, you can uncheck this box and it will no longer pop up at login. But I encourage you to keep it up because it is a great resource. You can also access it back in the top right-hand corner of the screen, right up here. When you click on tutorial, it will come back up. Also in this area, we have some more resources. This help button will blow up into a pop-up window, and I don't think you guys can see that, so I'm going to make it a tab and bring it down here for you all to see. On the left-hand side, you'll see we have IBC resources, iApproved resources, and IRB resources. And that is because all 3 institutional committees are now housed on one platform. So if you are a PI who submits the IBC and iApproved, as well as the IRB, you now only have to go to one place. So that is some wonderful news. Over here on the right-hand side, we have general iRIS resources to help you navigate the platform itself. But again, on the left-hand side, you'll have your IBC, iApproved, and IRB resources. These will all link out to our websites, and we also have a few guidance documents, participants' bill of rights, translation informed consent policy, et cetera, et cetera. So again, these help links and the tutorial links are on the top right-hand side of the screen. I'm also going to show you while we're here some features of your profile. And again, this is a fake account. My name is John Smith in the test environment. So John Smith does not have any real credentials. So I'm going to switch over to the production environment and log in as myself so I can show you what my profile looks like, because it would be very similar to yours. So when I hover over my profile, I'm going to go ahead and click on my account. And you will be able to do this as well when you log in for the first time. Now, you'll see that your name is hard-coded. If for whatever reason your last name or your first name is misspelled, please reach out to us and we can go in and fix that for you. But what is not hard-coded is all of your contact information that you can put in if you would like. You can also add a new email address. If you don't want iRIS system notifications going to your sdsu.edu email, then you can add another email address and you can click right here and all system notifications will go to that email address. So another thing I'll point out over here on the far left-hand side, you have 6 different little tabs right here that you can click on. If you want to put in your CV or any publications that you have, I have neither, you can go ahead and do that if you like. Also over here is our training history. So here is where your city training documents will reside. So if you signed up for city using your sdsu.edu email and your iRIS account is associated, if you log in with your sdsu.edu email to iRIS, those city training documents will automatically be associated with your iRIS account. So no more downloading your city training documents as PDFs and uploading them with your protocol or asking all of your research staff to send them to you. They will automatically be associated with your iRIS account, given that you signed up for city using that same sdsu.edu email. Now, I will point out the fact that this did not happen for me because I signed up for city for the first time using my graduate student email address a couple of years ago. And so when I logged into iRIS, my city training documents weren't here. And so what I did is I logged into city and I pulled my city user ID and I just copied and pasted it in here. Once I did that and I hit save changes, my city training documents automatically populated in the training history section. So just keep that in mind if you go to your training history and your city training documents are not there. Log into city, pull your city user ID and put it in your My Account area. Again, you find this by going to my profile and hovering over it and clicking on My Account. Okay, I'm going to switch back to the test environment. So this is now the home page. We've gone over to my profile, tutorial, and help list. On the home page, the first thing you'll see on the far left of the screen, or I guess the top left of the screen, are our featured study operations. So these are fairly straightforward. This is where you would go to create a new study, start a submission form for one of your studies, view current approvals, view submission history, and view and manage your studies in general. So these are just like quick links that will take you to various areas of the home page. As we scroll down, the first panel we see is a study assistant with the Find a Study feature. So when you click on this, you are able to search for any of your studies that you have submitted to the IRB, or the IBC. You can search for studies by the study alias, which is a new term and is just an abbreviated version of your study title. You can search by sponsor, PI of the study, department. You can even search a range of dates to see if you have any studies that may be expiring soon and you need to submit a continuing review. Now, over here on the far right-hand side is a back button. And I want to take this moment to emphasize the importance of embracing the back button. The back button will bring you back to where you were previously, and there will be times when you're using iRIS where it seems like you should be able to move forward, but you're going to just need to use the back button. So I encourage you to embrace this. You can also get back to the home screen by clicking up here in the SDSU button. You can also click down here. This is a little path configuration that will show you where you last were. So I can click here to go back home, or I can use the back button to bring myself back to the previous screen. Don't use the browser back button because that will make things get a little funky. This is the back button that you want to use. Okay, so now that we're back on the home page, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to move past study tasks for the moment because I think it makes more sense to show you where to find your studies before I show you how to do things. The third panel down here is called the in progress area. So these are where you're going to find, or this is where you're going to find studies that you have submitted to the IRB and studies that you have submitted to the IRB and that have been returned to you with corrections requested. So I'll show you what that looks like. My test study, which I created on August 22nd, I'll see here the reference number, the form name, the study title, and the study alias. I'll see the form author, the date it was submitted, and over here on the far right-hand side of the screen, I can see that I have some incomplete tasks. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up to complete those tasks. When I do that, I get to see this life cycle of my submission. I can see that it went from pre-submission to pre-review and is now in the changes requested status. So what that means is that changes have been requested of me. Down here, I can open up the task status area to see timestamps of my entire submission's life. So when I click on pre-submission, I can see that back on August 22nd at 2:55, my initial review submission packet was waiting to be submitted. And now this is a term that we will come back to many times and that you will all become very familiar with. The initial review submission packet contains your application and all supporting documents. When you make it into this packet, that's what you submit to the IRB and that's what we review. So you can see that it was waiting to be submitted at this time. Department personnel were assigned for sign-off. John Smith as a PI reviewed and applied his sign-off, 2:57, took about 4 minutes over here. And here I do have a warning message because it says that study personnel are not registered with up-to-date training records. Again, this is a fake profile, so John Smith does not have city training documents, but you'll see that the protocol went in, or it went through anyways. So you will see this message, we will see this message, and we will let you know these study personnel need to complete city training before we can issue a final determination or approval. So when I close the pre-submission task status area, I'm going to show you what the IRB area looks like. So here is where you can see when the IRB received the submission, when it was designated as a return for corrections action, who was assigned as the analyst, and when the IRB returned the submission for corrections to you. So this is now all timestamped. You can see what we're doing and how long it takes us to get your protocol back to you. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit so you can see the total time over here on the far right-hand side. So when we received the submission, it took 4 days, 1 hour, and 34 minutes to assign this action of return for corrections. At the same time, I was Natalie Hardy. I'm John Smith right now. So Natalie Hardy was assigned as the analyst 3 minutes later, and then it was returned for corrections. So this is really handy for all of you who are wondering maybe where your submission is. You can open up the IRB button right here and you can see where the submission is and how long it has taken us to get it back to you. So also in this area, you'll notice that you can see outcome letters that have been sent to you. So again, this has been returned for corrections. So when I click right here on outcome letters, I can see the letter that was sent to me, modifications required. I can see when it was sent and to whom it was sent. If I click right here on view letter, it will pop up as a pop-up window. And here are the modifications that have been sent to me. So as I continue with this webinar, you will see that there are a lot of different ways to get to the same area in iRIS. So this is one way to access your outcome letters that have been sent to you when your submission has been returned for corrections. We will also continue to send them to you via email. So they will go to your sdsu.edu email inbox, but they will also be located here. And I will show you once we get down to the very bottom of this page where you can find them as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close up this study that has been returned for corrections. And I'm going to show you my chia seed study, because this is a study that has been sent to the IRB, but has not been assigned to an analyst. So it's sitting in the queue. And so you can tell that that is the case because it is in pre-review status. So pre-review means that, again, it's sitting in the queue, waiting to be assigned to an analyst. But it also means that you can make changes at this stage. So say you completed your application, submitted consent form for payment flyer, you think you're good to go, you wake up at 3 a.m. in a panic, oh my God, I didn't submit the interview guide, I didn't submit the survey. You can log into iRIS, and given that your study is still in peer review status, you can retract your submission, and you can add those documents and then submit it back to us. You will no longer need to reach out to the analyst or to Justin and ask us to send your submission back to you. You can go in there and retract it and add those documents yourself. So that's a huge time saver for everybody involved. Okay, so the last study I want to show you in this area before we move down to the all studies area is this new study for CAT from August 16th. And I wanted to show you this because this is a study that has been assigned to an agenda. You'll see that obviously this date has passed. But you'll see that the study is now in post review. So it was assigned to an agenda undergoing full committee review on the 20th of August. So if you are a PI who often has studies go to the board, or you've had studies go to the board in the past, if you see that it's in this post review status and you see the IRB committee is up here, that means that your study has gone on to the agenda. You will also be notified, so this won't be a surprise when you log in and you open this up. But this is a good way to see where your studies are. Again, your in progress area is where you can check on your studies in their little life cycle. Okay, so now that we have covered this area, we're going to move all the way down to the all studies area. Now, this is where you're going to find your studies, and they will be the studies that you've submitted to the IBC, ICOOK, and IRB. John Smith only ever submits to the IRB, so if I were to sort this by review board, nothing would happen because they're all submitted to the IRB. But you'll see over here, what my favorite thing about this, I say at every webinar, is the fact that everything is now color coded. So you'll see that I have a few exempt studies. I've got something that's been returned for corrections, which we went over in the in the in progress area. I've got 2 studies that are pending. They've been submitted for initial review, and I have a study that I've withdrawn. So I really like how this is color coded, and I think you all will as well. So this whole area will give you quick access to various actions associated with each of your studies. But I want to show you first over here the study dashboard. We're going to go ahead and open up this study, my exempt study called the example study. When I click on the study dashboard area, I am taken to the entire inner workings of the study. Here I can find my application. I can find any informed consents that I submitted with the application. I can find all my other study documents, such as my flyer, my research measures, and then I can access the initial review submission packet as well. Again, you'll remember that that is what contains the application and all of your supporting documents. I can also access my study correspondence here, and I'm going to bring us back and show you all these actions because, again, there are multiple ways to get to the same area in iRIS. So we're going to go ahead and go through all these actions over here on the far right-hand side. I'm going to find the study that I wanted to open. Let's see. Okay, so the first tab that we're going to click on is the Applications tab. And you may be thinking, applications plural? And I'm going to say yes, applications plural. So this folder will show you all versions of your application that you have edited. And what I mean by that is when you click on this, you'll see the IRB initial application that you created and submitted. You'll see whether it was approved. You'll see when that approval date occurred, who was created by, date created, who was last modified by. You'll get a lot of stats on your application here. But I wanted to show you this area because this is where you're going to be able to see previous versions compared to current versions of your application. So like I said, this application has been approved and it's version 1.1. And so when you see this version number increase from 1.0 to 1.1 or 1.2, what that means is that your application has been edited. So when I click right here on this folder, it's going to open up the revisions that have been made to the application. So here we go. We have our version 1.0. This was not approved, but version 1.1, after it was edited by John Smith at 8:48 in the morning, it changed to version 1.1, and this was the application that was approved. So you can infer that corrections were requested by the IRB, and John Smith addressed those corrections, submitted the application again, and it was approved. So you can compare this application with this one by clicking over here on the far left-hand side, going over here to the far right-hand side, and hitting compare to selected versions. This will bring up your previous version of the application and the current version. You can see version 1.0 right here, version 1.1 on this side, and you can see which sections were edited. So my identifier section was edited, and down here, my payment section was edited as well. So this is a really great way to see the differences in your previously edited application and currently approved applications. You will also be able to see who made those edits. If you have other key study personnel working on your study and they have read and write permissions, they will be able to make those edits to the application and you will be able to see who did them. So I'm going to bring us back to the All Studies area and continue showing you all the actions here. So we're going to go ahead and open up the documents associated with my example study. So the documents button will bring you to the document libraries. This library will include all study documents associated with any given study that you click on. So there's a lot going on right here, so I'm going to break it down for you all. We're going to start from the top. So right here, you'll see that the tab we're in is study documents. Okay, cool. So down here, I can see that I have my survey and I have my recruitment flyer. I don't have my consent form because my consent form is located in the Informed Consents tab. So just keep that in mind. When you see your study documents, you don't see your consent, don't freak out. It's right up here in the Informed Consents tab. You'll also see that, so like I said, I have my survey and my recruitment flyer here. Under document outcome, my survey has not been approved, but my flyer has, and my flyer also has an approval date. And this is because we don't stamp surveys or interview guides. We stamp flyers and consent forms. And right over here on the far right-hand side, you can click on the stamped file to open up your stamped document. So right here is my flyer. You'll see that it has been stamped with the IRB number and the IRB approval date is on there as well. So this is where you're going to go to find your stamped and approved documents. Over here, again, top left of the screen, informed consent will show you the consents that were submitted and approved with the study. When I click right here under approved consent, it will pop up into a window and I will be able to see it here, IRB number, IRB approval date. So this is how you access your study documents that are associated with any given study. Okay, so back in the All Studies area, I'm going to show you a couple more functions. The Forms button will open up any forms that you may submit against one of your studies, such as an amendment form, review, personnel change, reportable event form. So you can start new submissions here. You can also start them from above, as you'll recall, under featured study operations. You can start a submission form for one of your studies. You can also access them down here. The hide button will simply hide the study from view. The withdraw button will only work for studies that have been returned for corrections or that are pending and have been submitted for initial review. So I would encourage caution when using this button. This will withdraw the submission from review, so it will no longer be considered for review by the IRB or by the IRB analysts. You'll see right here, I have withdrawn a potato chips and chocolate study. And what this means is that, again, it just cannot be considered for review any longer, but I'm still able to, so say I did that on accident, although I'll show you what it looks like when you try to withdraw the study. It will caution you, draw a red font, so be careful with it. But in the case that you accidentally do that, you can use this copy function and it will copy the entire study. You can do this for any of your studies, whether they have already been approved or given an exempt determination, or even if they've been returned for corrections, you can copy your entire study. So this is a great feature for those of you who do studies that are very similar to one another, but maybe have a few different, maybe you're recruiting different population. You can just copy the whole thing, copy your whole application and all documents associated with your application. So you can go in and just make little tweaks and edits here or there. The delete button works on drafts. So when you start a study and maybe you come back to it later and you decide you don't want it anymore, you can delete it. And then finally, the correspondence area is going to be where you will find correspondence that has been sent to you by an analyst, or you have received a system notification, or where you can go to send study correspondence to key study personnel who are listed on your protocol. So right here for this study, you see that I have two messages. One is from administrator. That's an automatic system notification. You'll see this is a notice of exempt assignment. So what that means is that an analyst has gone in and given this study an exempt determination. Then you see this message from Natalie Hardy, the analyst assigned to reviewing this protocol. You'll see that an exempt verification was sent to me on September 4th. When I open up this message, I see the content right here. Attached is the outcome letter for the submission. Thank you so much, which is automatically generated, even though it came from Natalie Hardy. Over here on the far left-hand side is where I will find my outcome letter. It will emerge as a pop-up window. So I'm going to bring it down to show you. And here's my exempt verification. So like I said earlier, the modifications required letters and any determination letters will be sent to you to your sdsu.edu email inbox. And they will also be in the study correspondence area with any given study. So the last thing I'll show you in this area is the adding a new correspondence. So if you have members on your study team and you want to message them something about the study, but you don't want to go to your sdsu.edu email inbox and do it from there because it's hard to keep track of. There's a million emails coming in every single day. You can go here and you can click on the people who have been listed on your study as key study personnel, and you can send them all a message from within the study correspondence area. And this is a great feature because it keeps it all in one place. So again, I'm going to bring us back to the all studies area. When you click on the little correspondence button on the far right-hand side for any given study, you'll see all the correspondence that has been sent to you for that study and all the correspondence that you've sent out to the key study personnel on your study. So great new features. Okay, so we are now going to scroll to the very top of the screen and we're going to touch on the study tasks before we begin a new application together. So you can see right here, like just like the documents area, how there were two tabs up here. You've got the all tasks tab and you've got the study specific tasks tab. You'll see that I only have one task in here, but when I am open on the all tasks area, I will see tasks that have been assigned to me that are submission corrections and that are key study personnel sign off tasks. So if you are listed on a protocol as a PI, then you will need to sign off on the protocol, given that you are the study author as well. This may be a little too much information, and I will walk us through this as we submit the application. But I want to point out that here is where you will be assigned to sign off on a submission. So if somebody else creates a study and they list you as a co-PI in the study, and they want you to sign off on the submission because maybe they want you to take a look at it before it's submitted to the IRB, you will get a task automatically generated into this area, and you will be required to sign off there. Another way that you will need to sign off is if you are a faculty advisor and you have a graduate student who is submitting a protocol, you will need to sign off as their faculty advisor. So when you log into iRIS, you can open up the all tasks tab, which is where we are right now, and you'll see sign off tasks, and you will sign off as a faculty advisor. So for the study task that we have right now, we see that the task is a submission correction. We see when it was received. We see a description of the task. We don't see what study this is associated with. So when you click here on study tasks, that will open up a little bit more information. You can see for what study these tasks have been assigned for, and all the other information that the all tasks area didn't show you. The last thing I'll show you over here is the fact that you can set the priority level of each of the tasks that are in your box. So say you have 15 tasks, that's quite a few tasks, but you don't need to complete a few of them for another couple of weeks. You can set that priority to low, and you can change the complete by date to Saturday the 28th. If you have a task that is higher priority and you have co-PIs working on a study who can complete these tasks for you on your behalf, then you can set the priority to high, and they will also see this task in their homepage when they log in. So when you set this task priority to high, it will set to high in their homepage as well. And it will also populate up here in this by the numbers box. So this by the numbers box is exactly what it sounds like. You can just at a glance see what you've got going on in the system. I've got 3 submissions that are in process, a form that's pending submission, 1 thing pending my response, and now I have a high priority task that we just set ourselves. So if I change this back to low, it will disappear from this area. Okay, so now that we've covered the home page pretty much in its entirety, we're going to go ahead and create a new study together. So this is where you'll go to create a new study for any of the 3 institutional committees. We're going to select IRB initial application because that is what you're doing today. We're going to hit start selected application. So I'm going to zoom in a little so everyone can see a little bit better. So the first section will ask you to enter the full title of your study. This is a test study. Down here, it will ask you to enter the study alias that you can use to reference the study. So for those of you who have really long study titles, this is a great way to shorten that title, give you an abbreviated version of your study title so that you can quickly identify your study. And then I'm going to hit save and continue next section. Now here is where you would add the departments that you are affiliated with or any departments that are associated with the study. So if you are working with multiple faculty members from different departments, you can include their departments here. My old department indicate that it's the primary department because I am the PI of the study. I'm going to move forward. Section 3 asks you to assign key study personnel their access to the study. So you'll see that no principal investigator has been added yet, even though I am the study author, me, John Smith, I'm the study author. I'm also going to be the PI, but I need to tell the system that. So I'm going to click here to set up key study personnel. I'm going to search myself by my last name. And I'm going to hit select. Now it will ask me to designate the role for myself. I'm the PI. If I were a graduate student, I would select this box, graduate student, and then I would need to supply the name of my faculty advisor in the box below. But since I'm not, I'm going to just hit save. And then I'm going to add my coworker, Justin. He's going to be a co-PI. And right here, I forgot to mention this in my last, when I was setting myself up. You'll notice that I was included as a study contact automatically because I'm the PI. If I wanted my co-PI to be on all study correspondence, I can include them as a contact as well. But because Justin doesn't need to be bothered by this, I'm going to hit no and hit save. So as you'll recall, I did mention when everyone is going to be logging into iRIS for the first time to use your SDSU single sign-on credentials because we have 2 databases. So the iRIS database is made up of people who had InfoEd accounts. We migrated them over to iRIS. The LDAP directory is where you can search for other people who have an sdsu.edu email address that you may not find in the iRIS database. So if you're looking for someone to add to your study and you can't find them in the iRIS database, try LDAP. Can't find them in LDAP, then that is when they would request a new account. But please try searching for them in the iRIS database and then the LDAP directory first. Okay, I'm going to close this down, and you'll see in this area that I'm also able to view training records by clicking right here. Again, John Smith is not real, so he does not have any active city training documents, but you're able to check this in this area in case you're wondering, oh, I hope all of my study team members are up to date on their city training. When you're in section 3.0 to assign key study personnel, you can access their training records right here. Okay, so we're going to move forward. This will ask us about review reliance agreements. It's a new question. I do not have a review reliance agreement, but if I did, I would say that I did. Okay, so now we're going to answer the following sections. My study is not funded. If it was, then you'll see that additional questions will pop up that you will need to answer if your study is funded. This is a smart logic-based form, so a lot of sections may or may not populate depending on what you answer. So we're going to say no and move forward. Now here is our usual human subjects research questionnaire. This will ask you whether your project involves research with human subjects. We're going to say that it does by checking yes to all 3 of these questions. These are virtually identical to the questions on the InfoEd application, but we've added a bit more to the application itself. So you'll see on the far right-hand side that there's a question mark. And when I hover over this question mark, I get a link to common examples of activities that are not subject to IRB review. So when you see these question marks on the far right-hand side of the application or any of the sections of the application, they are there to provide additional context and give you more information about the section that you are currently working on. We also have provided some additional definitions of various terms. So you'll see right here, this text is green. So when I hover over it, I get a definition of generalized knowledge, interaction, and intervention. So if you feel stuck, or if your graduate student is moving through a protocol for the first time and they're not sure what something means, encourage them to keep their eyes out for these question marks on the far right-hand side and any different colored font, because those will provide definitions and additional context. So down here, I'm just going to answer no to all of these questions for the sake of this webinar. And hit save. Now, you'll notice on the far left-hand side that we are now opening up multiple sections as we move through the application. And if, say, I remembered suddenly that my study is funded, then instead of going back, I could go and click on that section that I need to edit and change my answer to yes or to no. Now, you will need to save the section before you move forward. If you don't save the section, then the information you place in that section will not be saved. If you're not sure where a certain question was that you need to change, because again, this is a newer application, you can select entire view of the application, and this will show you, because I didn't finish this area, so let me do that real quick. So if I click on entire view of the application, it will show me the entire application, and I can scroll down and see where the question is that I may not have answered and that I want to change. However, you're not able to edit when you're in the entire view of the application, so just keep that in mind. So say you need to get back to section 6.0, just remember that, go back to section view of the application, and you can click on that section you need to access. So here in the identifier section, we added email addresses, and we're also going to add telephone numbers. And we're going to move forward. And now we'll see that there was an error encountered saving the application because I didn't make a selection from the above choices here. So I need to indicate that these will be accessed and reported. Most of these questions are going to be required. So if you don't answer something and you try to move forward, the application will stop you and it will point out what you need to change or what you need to add before you can move forward. Okay, section 8.0 is new. This is where we now ask you to select the appropriate review type that you think your study will be categorized under. So there are 3 categories of review. We've got exempt, expedited, full board. If you're not sure what this means, you guessed it, over here, far right-hand side, hover over this question mark. You can see what the different levels of review conducted by the IRB are, whether your study might be eligible for expedited review or exemption. This we put in here in an effort to educate and provide more context. We understand that sometimes people may not really get why we exempt studies or give them expedited determination, why studies go to full board. So we're hoping that this will help everybody begin to understand, how we review human subject research applications. So I'm going to hit exempt and forward. Now I will be asked to provide the experience of the key study team members. So you'll note that key study team members means PIs, co-PIs, co-investigators, and faculty advisors. So we will no longer ask you to describe the research experience of, say, the 5 graduate students on your protocol or other research staff. It's just the key study personnel that we want to know about. So I'm going to add myself. Describe my experience here. Add Justin because he is a co-PI. Down here, I'm going to say no, we don't have a conflict of interest. And one last thing, we will also ask you, right here it says, documents will be translated or interpreted into a foreign language. You'll need to name that person here. So if I were translating my consent forms into a different language, then somebody on the protocol was going to be doing that for me, I would indicate their role as the translator or interpreter and describe their experience as it pertains to translating these documents into the foreign language. Okay, so now we're in the background and significance section, and these These sections are going to be very similar to the info ed application, can't spell test. But what is different now is that one, there is no text limit, and you can do a lot in these rich text format boxes. You can bold your text, you can italicize it, you can change the font if you'd like. You can also insert hyperlinks and any images or diagrams if you feel that it will help us in our review of your protocol. Please do. And you can also change paragraph format. It's essentially like Microsoft Word. You can have more fun with it. If you want to do a heading and then a paragraph underneath the heading, that you have a lot more creative freedom at this point. But the biggest takeaway, and I think what everybody is going to be very excited about, is that there is no text limit. So down here, I'm just going to provide my list of reference to support my macroeconomic significance section and move forward. The research methods and design sections are very similar, again, to the info ed application. I'm just going to put this test here so that we can move forward. But something that's a little bit different is that now we only ask you to list your benefits and your risk and risk management procedures one time, and it's all in this area. Previously on our info ed application, we asked you to do that multiple times throughout the application. It was a source of totally understandable frustration, but now it's all in just one place. You only have to do it once. Down here at the bottom, you will be asked to list all the measures that are going to be used in your study. So we're going to be using a survey that we developed. And right here, I will be prompted to upload the measures at the end of the application in my initial submission packet. So again, that's a term that we'll come back to many times. And I'm going to hit save and continue. So the study population section will ask me to enter the number of adults and children that I intend to recruit for my protocol. I'm going to say 100 adults, and because I'm not going to be recruiting from a vulnerable population, I'm going to select general participant to continue. I'm also going to be recruiting 50 children. They are also general participants. And when I scroll down and I get to section or to subheading 12.4, you'll see that the total has not been added up. But when I hover over this, it will tell me to save the section to calculate this total. Okay. Boom. Now, 150 participants have been totaled in this area. So if you enter in these numbers and you say, why is this still 0? Just hit save and it will populate automatically. Okay, so now we're going to move into the inclusion and exclusion criteria. These you can list in paragraph form or as line items, however you want to do it. Here's some more information about inclusion and exclusion criteria. I'm going to continue moving forward in the interest of time. Participants recruitment and screening will ask you how to contact participants for recruitment. We're going to say email. Here we're prompted to upload copies of any recruitment language at the end of the application. Same with our screening materials. Now I will be asked to select the level of risk I believe to be posed to my participants. I'm going to say minimal. Move forward. The informed consent section has been bolstered to include additional resources and information. So over here on the far right-hand side, we have information about waivers of documentation, alteration, and broad consent, since those are the three most confusing terms that are used in communications with the school and the analysts. And so we provided a bit more context over here. These will link you out directly to various decision charts and give you more information, because now when you select request for waiver documentation or alteration, you will be required to indicate the criteria under which you are requesting that waiver. So a lot of times we get people who will select request for waiver documentation just because they don't want to collect the signature, but there's actually criteria that you must meet when you are going to be requesting this waiver. We also link directly out to our informed consent templates. So this is a great new feature as well. We're going to select comprehensive written. They will not be translated into a foreign language. If they were, then I would select that language here. And if I were going to be using a translation service, so remember when I said in the key study personnel area, if anybody on your study team will be translating your documents for you, that you would need to include them as a translator. If you're going to be using a service, then this is the area where you would indicate what that service would be. So if I said, yes, I'll be using a translation service, here is where I would name that translation service. If not doing that, I'm going to select no. And I'm going to obtain documentation of assent, applicable. I'm going to move forward. Okay, research setting will ask you to identify all locations and settings of your research. This is an online survey. Say Qualtrics. Will not be traveling to another country. The payments and incentives section will ask you what form of payment will be provided. Over here in the far right-hand corner, we have information about raffles and lotteries, what compensation is compared to reimbursement. So again, more context, more information, especially for those of you who want to use raffles and lotteries. We always have to know that there is a specific California code that you have to adhere to when you are going to be hosting a raffle or a lottery. So we wanted to put that directly in there for your reference. I will not be paying my participants, so I'm going to hit none. We'll move forward. The data management section is identical to the info at application. Say competition coded. Here's. Oh. And we'll move forward. Okay, so now the application has been completed. We are now in the initial review submission packet, and my application has been attached. So now I must complete the remainder of the packet by adding all of my study-related documents. So when I move forward through these sections, I'll see the study application. Here is the application we just completed and submitted, or well, we haven't submitted it yet. We completed and attached. You'll see it's version 1.0 because as you'll recall, any subsequent edits to your version numbers after they've been submitted and returned to you from the IRB will see an increase in your version number. I'm also able to edit the application here. If I need to go back and change something, I can do that from here. But I don't need to do that, so I'm going to hit save and continue. Now I will be asked to attach all required consent forms. And you'll see three options here. This will take you to the informed consent template document. So where you find our templates for informed consent, you can pull them from there. If you've already written your consent form, then you would just upload the existing electronic document you already have. This is an informed consent builder template that we are still working on. So we're just going to ignore that. But we will let you know if we end up rolling that out. But we already created our consent form. So we're going to go ahead and add it right here. I'm going to title this appropriately. This is version number 1.0. Here's the date. This is comprehensive written. Hit save. So now my consent's been attached. Wonderful. We're going to save and continue to the next section. Now here is going to be where I attach the rest of my study documents. This is not a multi-site study, so I'm not going to attach anything there. Recruitment language, yes, I'm going to be adding a flyer. So I'm going to add my flyer here. I'm going to indicate that it is a flyer and hit save document. Now I'm going to be using multiple surveys in my studies. So instead of adding a new document, I'm going to add multiple documents. So here I'm able to select multiple documents at the same time. So I'm going to upload both of my surveys. Say survey 1 and survey 2. Now I will be asked to input the version number myself. And because I want to keep everything version 1.0, this is the first version of my entire submission. I'm going to say version 1.1. I'm going to say the date is today. These are both research measures. Okay, so now if I had anything originating from foreign interest, I would place it here. Any other study documents that may not fit into these categories would be placed down here. I've uploaded everything that I need to, so I'm going to hit save and continue. Here's where you may see additional training groups that might not be applicable to your protocol. So IACUC or IBC trainings may pop up here. Just ignore them. Okay, so now I'm at the sign off and submit page. So as you'll recall, I mentioned this when we were on the home page. This is where you'll see any tasks that are related to your sign off responsibilities. So what I mean by that is the fact that I am the principal investigator, so I'm automatically included in the sign off. I will need to sign off as the PI. And also Justin, who I added as my co-PI, he's been included in the sign off as well. but I don't need him to sign off, so I'm going to go ahead and uncheck that box right there. This will also give you a little bit more information what I'm telling you right now. So if you don't want the co-PIs or any other key study personnel on your protocol to sign off, if you just want to be the only PI to sign off on it, then be sure to uncheck them from this area. Again, if you have a graduate student who is submitting this protocol, they will need to include their faculty advisor in the sign off, in the submission routing and sign off. But we're just going to include myself as a PI. I'm going to hit save sign off routing list. It will ask me to finalize the list of personnel. This looks good. This is what I just did. Yes, this represents the finalized personnel, and I'm going to hit save and start the sign off routing. Now I'll be directed to the sign off screen to apply my electronic signature as the PI. Here is where I can review all of the documents that I just attached to my initial review submission packet. So I have my application, my consent form, my flyer, and my surveys. So everything looks good. If at this point you want to download everything, so you have it all contained in one PDF, which is a request that we get sometimes, you can totally do that. So over here on the far left-hand side, you can click this button to select everything that's contained within your initial review submission packet, or you can select, so say you just want your consent form, your flyer, all your study documents to be downloaded into one PDF, you can select those four, and then you can select create PDF packet. You can also include your application if you'd like. So this is really up to you if you want to use it or not. Again, we do get these requests sometimes to have all of the study documents sent to various PIs. So you can create your PDF packet here if you would like. Now I'm going to go down here, John Smith, Principal Investigator, do I approve or deny the submission? I'm going to hit approve and hit save sign. Okay, so now my study, my initial review submission packet has been sent off to the IRB, and it's now located in my in progress area because as you recall, we are now in pre-review. The study has been sent to the IRB. An analyst has yet to be assigned, but it is sitting in the queue and waiting. You are also, again, able to retract your submission at this point to make edits. If you forgot to attach something, you can do that. It's in the pre-review status, so you are able to make those edits at this time. Okay, so for the third and final part of my presentation, we are going to walk through some stipulations for our study that has been returned for corrections. These are stipulations that have been sent to me by an analyst. So there's a couple different ways that I can access these stipulations. So right here, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to click on the study task, but you'll notice this is my test date 8/22. When I go down to the in progress area, I can click over here. You'll see again, I have my incomplete tasks. When I open up my steps, I see changes have been requested. So I'm going to click IRB. And right here, I'm able to directly complete these corrections going to the in progress area. Again, this is where I can see my outcome letters. So the modifications required will be sent to me. My email will also be associated directly with my study. But I prefer to take care of these tasks by going up here because instead of having to click through that entire life cycle, you just click one time. So now we are at the pre-review correction form. And this is also a new term. This is a response form that has been generated by the analyst who has sent you your corrections that need to be made. You'll see that these are all the submission components that are contained within your initial review submission packet, in addition now to the pre-review correction form. You'll see that it is incomplete because this is where we are right now. So when I scroll down, I see my first stipulation. This is stipulation 1 out of 2. Here's the description of the stipulation. I've been asked to add video/voice recordings to the PHI table. Okay, so what that means is that I need to go into the application to make those edits. But instead of going back into my study, going back to the home screen, this stipulation is directly linked to the application where I need to make my edits. So it will detail the section that needs to be changed, and it will show you the question that you need to revise or answer. So when I click over here on the far right-hand side, revise existing, I will be asked to confirm that I want to create a revision to my application because I've been asked to do that. When I hit confirm, it will bring me to the application and it will reload. And here is the modification that's been requested of me. I now need to add video/voice recordings to the PHI table. Okay, cool. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to indicate there will be accessed and recorded, and I'm going to hit save section. Okay, so now I'm scrolling, but nothing's moving. So this is where you're going to be needing to embrace the back button, like I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. When you use this button, it will just bring you back to the previous screen. So I'm going to use it to bring us back to the pre-review correction form. Now, when I scroll down to the same stipulation, I'm able to see that a new version of my application has been created, denoted by the version 1.1. Okay, cool. So at this point, I can compare application versions. I can see what edits were just made to confirm that those were the edits that were requested of me. Okay, this is version 1.0. Here's version 1.1. I've added video and voice recording. So I did exactly what the analyst asked me to do. So I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to hit complete action to indicate that the action has been completed. Down here, I'm going to say, yes, I accept the stipulation. I said I was recording video, so that needs to be on there. Here, I'm going to provide an explanation on how I address the stipulation. I'm just going to say done because it's very straightforward. And then I'm going to hit save section. I encourage you to save sections each time you do something, just to be safe. And also because if you don't save the section won't save. So just get in the habit of saving each section that you create or edit as you move through the system. My second stipulation, my final stipulation is I've been asked to submit the interview guide for review. Okay, I didn't submit my interview guide when I first submitted my entire protocol. So over here, I see that my action has not been completed. This is the name of the component to add the study document. Okay, yes, that seems right because I need to submit my interview guide for review. So over here, it will give me the option to complete this action. I'm going to add a document. So here are the documents that I've already submitted with my protocol, but as none of them are what have been requested of me, none of these are the interview guide, I'm going to hit upload a new document not on this list, and I'm going to attach my interview guide. I'm going to pretend that's spelled correctly. Okay, so this is a research measure, and I'm going to hit save. You'll see that it was automatically completed for me, which is so nice. I accept the stipulation, and I'm going to say review guide, uploaded. Then I'm going to hit save section. I'm going to scroll all the way down, make sure that all of my stipulations have been completed. Everything looks good. You'll see now that my other versions of my application have been automatically updated. I got version 1.1 of my application because we made that edit to the PHI table. I'll also see that this the interview guide has been uploaded. So everything looks good. So now I'm going to hit save and continue to next section. It will tell me that my form has been completed. So now I sign off and submit, just as we did when we submitted a new application. Okay, so here is where I would make sure that everything has been updated and uploaded and edited. Everything looks good. So I'm going to hit approve and hit save sign. Okay, so now you'll see that our test study has made it to pre-review status. It is back to the IRB, sitting in the queue. When I close out these steps, everything looks nice and neat. And when I scroll back up to my study task area, you'll see there are 0 results because we just completed the only task in our study task area. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do is we're going to submit an amendment against one of our studies. So I'm going to do that by clicking up here, start a submission form for one of my studies. When I click on that button, I get to see all of my studies, even the ones that have been returned for corrections or that are pending. So you can't submit an amendment for a study that has not received a final determination. So we're going to click on this exempt study. This is called my biomedical study. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Here I will be asked what form I want to submit against this study. So I have an amendment form, which we're going to do. I have continuing review, study closure, reportable event. And what is new here is our personnel change form. So if you're going to be adding new study personnel, so say research staff or some graduate students, people who aren't PIs or co-PIs will be added to the studies now using the personnel change form. If you're going to be changing the PI of the study or the co-PI of the study, you will still need to submit an amendment, but everybody else can be added to the study via a personnel change form. So I just wanted to point that out before we went into the amendment. So I'm going to hit start a new submission right here. And this will take me to the amendment form. So here's some instructions that you can all read when you do this for the first time. So here the the form will show you the project information, the date, number, name of the PI. If you want to include another study contact here, you can. The project title, and we'll ask you for the study status, as this is helpful for us to understand where you are in your study's life cycle. We're going to say that we're active for enrollment and we are enrolling. Now I will be asked to check all of the amendment changes that apply right now. So I'm going to be increasing the incentive. And let's see if I want to do anything else. No, that's all. I want to increase the incentive. This will affect the changes to the procedures to participants because I'll need to let them know in the consent form that the incentive has increased. So I will be prompted to revise the informed consent forms in the initial application at this point. So I'm going to hit save and continue to the next section. Here, I'm going to say changing incentive. This is where we ask you to describe the proposed changes and include the rationale for the change. Okay, so here you will be asked to make your application changes directly in the attached application below. You'll see that no application has been associated with the submission. So when we click here, we will get to select this application. You'll see this is version 1.1. So this has been edited before. So I'm going to go over here to the far right-hand side and click create a revised application. It will ask me to confirm that I'm adding a revision. And now, because we're going to be changing the incentive, we're going to go to payment/incentives to participants. We're going to say cash/check. We're going to be giving them $20. Okay, so now I've changed what I needed to change in the application. I'm going to bring myself back to the amendment form using the back button. And here is where I can attach or revise any study document changes. So if I were advertising this incentive on a flyer, that's where I would revise my existing flyer. So I can do that here by creating a new revision. And I'll need to attach or revise my consent form. I'm going to add a new consent because I have just created one outside of the system. I'm going to say updated and attach it here. Now I'm going to hit save and continue the next section. It will bring me to a sign-off page where I can sign up and submit. And now I can see everything that I've changed. So the amendment form has been attached. The initial application has been updated to version 1.2. And I've submitted my new consent form, which is now version 1.1 because it is the first version of this consent form that I have updated or that I have uploaded. I'm going to hit approve, and then I'm going to save sign. Okay, and now my amendment form is in the in progress area. I can see that it's in peer review. I'm able to retract it and make any changes if I still need to. So that is how you submit an amendment against one of your studies. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and switch back to my PowerPoint so we can go over some dates. Everybody looking at the PowerPoint, I get a thumbs up. Wonderful, thank you so much. So everybody has access to iRIS. Again, you will log in with your SDSU single sign-on credentials. For those of you who have previously approved and exempt studies in InfoEd, those have all been moved from InfoEd into iRIS for you by our team of analysts and RSS support team members. We have done all that work for you. Please log into iRIS and make sure that all of your study documents are up to date. We did our best, but we are only human. So it'll be on you to log in and make sure that all of your study documents associated with all of your exempt and approved studies are up to date. So here are some important dates. On September 1st, InfoEd access was deactivated for PIs. So again, all protocol data for existing studies in InfoEd will be migrated to iRIS for you. So the previous deadline to submit an InfoEd anything new was August 15th. If you got something in by then and it is still in progress, we will be moving that over from InfoEd to iRIS for you. On October 1st, iRIS will go live as a new and improved protocol management system for all SDSU IRB protocols. So right now you are able to access iRIS. Like I said, please log in, go check on your studies. You're able to draft and submit new submissions right now, but they're not going to be reviewed or processed until after October 1st, 2024. And this is because the team of analysts, we are working on administratively processing each and every application submission that has come in that we have migrated over. We have to approve all of those. So we're undergoing a conversion period from now until October 1st. If you do have an adverse event or unanticipated problem that occurs in one of your studies, it obviously needs to be reported to us. So please reach out to us individually and we will provide you with further guidance. Okay, so now we have reached the end of my presentation and I would like to open it up to any questions that you may have. Were there any questions in the chat? Doesn't look like there were. Oh, we got a wonderful comment from Marissa. So happy with spoke. Yay. We are so glad to hear that, Marissa, because we are too. And and thank you, Heather. I appreciate that. We really think that this is going to be a great change for all of us. So really glad to hear that, everybody. Thank you. And if there are no more questions, please feel free to email me. I will be sending a follow-up email to all people registered for today's webinar. I'll have the links to iRIS. I'll have links to previously recorded webinars, to this one as well, just to provide you with additional guidance. So thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. And I hope everyone's having a great start to the school year. See you guys.